There are a variety of metrics that we see used in organizations, and most of the metrics that we see have a negative impact on the team's ability to deliver. The types of metrics that I'm thinking of are things like original estimate vs actuals. So collecting an original estimate from people and then comparing it to the actual number of hours. That would become under the category of a say do metric, and it's well documented that say do metrics lead to negative behaviors in teams. It leads to individual isolation rather than team activities. Also, things like story points and velocity are not generally useful metrics to look at a team to understand how well it is doing and how it is engaging with others, how much value it's delivering, right? Velocity and story points and burn downs are pointless metrics that add no value in that space. If a team, an individual team, decides that they want to use some of those metrics and look at it and use it for whatever purpose they have internally, that's totally cool. I see lots of teams getting value from story points as a tool to help them gain more internal understanding of what something is that they're working on. The size of the thing, the things they don't know, just as a technique to be able to do that. But at the end of that session, we throw away the numbers because we have the understanding now. We don't need the numbers anymore. So those types of things, I wouldn't use. Story points, velocity, burn downs, these are not the metrics you're looking for. Other metrics, the most common one that is you might not even believe this, but not 4 weeks ago, I was asked about this as a valid metric, and that's number of lines of code that developers write per day. You just can't, just does not compute anymore. That there are still folks out there who focus on productivity and look at the output, the number of lines of code that developers are writing, as a potential productivity metric, right? This is turn of the century manufacturing thinking being applied to something that is not within that realm. So lines of code, total number of bugs in the system, also not a particularly awesome metric. I might want to look at the trend of bugs. That might be more interesting. But these are definitely not the metrics you're looking for. So the answer then, or the question then becomes, what are the metrics that I am looking for, right? What are the metrics that I should be using? And I think it's key that there is no absolute correct answer to that. There are lots of metrics that we know have a negative impact on a team's ability to be a team and to deliver as a team and to maximize value. But there are fewer metrics that add value. And I always use an example. If you were, for example, building a live system, right? You've got lots of people accessing a live system, then there are things that you might want to look at. But the metrics that you want are those that focus on value to the customer, right? So you might look at usage within the context of your application. There might be a number of metrics you can look at within usage. You might look at acquisition of users into your system. You might look at the engagement of users in your system over a period of time. You might look at their satisfaction as part of usage. You might look at the data, the telemetry that hopefully you're already collecting in your system for how people are using the different features in your product. What are they accessing? What are they engaging with? And usage really comes under that current value in our system. If you think of a model like evidence-based management, like the EBM from Scrum.org, you see that there are 2 categories and 4 key value areas. The top category, if you're looking at the diagram, is market value, right? We want to understand how our product is doing in the market, and usage sits under the current value. This is the stuff that we've already delivered in our product, and monitoring and engaging with users within that context. But then you've also got to think about that satisfaction gap. What are the things that our product maybe should do or could do that would add value, right? That unrealized value, the things we don't know that we need in our product, and those things should actually inform the contents of our product backlog. So that's a key part of that story as well. But if we just focus on market value, we might, I don't know, sacrifice quality for speed in order to get something out into the market. And if you do a little bit of research, you'll find that that has been demonstrated to be a false premise. Lowering quality really inhibits our ability to achieve the value that we want. So in EBM, there's a category at the bottom that probably called organizational capability. And organizational capability is about what is the capability of our organization to get stuff to our customers, to be able to deliver things to them. And that kind of comes in two key value areas, right? You've got ability to innovate. What percentage, a metric in there might be what percentage of time do we spend delivering net new functionality versus struggling with the complexity of existing functionality, right? Support, adding new capabilities to existing functionality. And you want to think of it kind of like, well, the analogy I always use is Netflix, right? Should Netflix invest in a net new series, a brand new series for their viewers, or should they add a second season to an existing series? And they've got a lot more financial a chance of success, financial return on a net new series, which is why you see a lot of shows cancelled after the first season. But then you need to change the story because you then get annoyed customers, right? That current value starts to erode as customer satisfaction drops because you're cancelling their favorite shows. So what do they have to do? They release limited series where there's no expectation of a second series. They change the story in order to maintain the ability to deliver value and maximize the engagement with the customers. That's all about data and metrics. So ability to innovate is really important to be able to maximize the value that we deliver into the market. On the other side of that, we need our time to market. Time to market is really important because it allows us to understand how long it takes from maybe an idea all the way into getting it in front of our users, getting in front of our customers. And there are lots of different metrics you could have in there. The ultimate metric is probably time to learn, right? You have an idea, you build the smallest experiment you possibly can, you get it all the way into production, you get feedback from our users, and that informs the next piece of that we built using a hypothesis-driven cycle, right? Empirical cycle. But there's also other metrics that we might use in there. It might just be time to build, right? How long does it take for the people doing the work to be able to create a copy of the content? It could be time to self-test, time to deploy, time to learn. All these things are part of that story. How long does it take to do things? And we want to shorten those things as much as possible. So when we do have a good idea, we do have an opportunity that happens in the market, we can get that opportunity out to people as quickly as possible. So these are 4 key value areas that we really have to look at holistically. We can't look at one in isolation because they impact on each other. You could deliver lots of stuff into production, but if we spend most of our time augmenting existing features and hardly any time getting net new features, we're probably going to start lagging in our customers. Our customer base is going to start aging. So we need to look at all of these things in combination. So there are metrics that you can look at, but you need to think about it deliberately and holistically to be able to maximize the value that your business is able to generate in the market. Otherwise, you're going to end up going the way of many big lethargic organizations that you see out there that perhaps don't look at these types of metrics, or perhaps look at the wrong metrics like team capacity, velocity, burn down, actual hours vs original estimate. Try and focus on metrics that enable your business to be successful. What are the things that are going to enable that success, and focus on them.